They are doing this for you, Mr. President. Mr. Speaker, I want you to protect me, Mr. Speaker.
Point of order, Honorable Speaker.
There is no point of order here, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Speaker, it is not in order for the Honorable Fatma to impute improper motives on her colleagues.
Now the government is spying on our M-Pesa transaction, Mr. Speaker.
What's your point of order? Give the mic to Honorable Kagombe. Yes, there you are.
Mr. Speaker, again, I rise on standing order number 91-1. And when you say, that is a very grievous accusation of the government, that the government is spying on Kenyans on M-Pesa. That is something that needs to be substantiated.
Fatuma Jeho.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I rise to oppose this bill, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there is no doubt that we are on an economic downturn. Our economic is collapsing. Mr. Speaker, today, if we were given this bill and none of us were a member of this honorable House, I can assure you none of us could have passed this bill. I say that, Mr. Speaker, because of few reasons. I'll start with the housing levy, Mr. Speaker. I've just looked at the report, and they are telling us they have proposed 1.5, Mr. Speaker. And looking at the report, they are telling us they are going to build 50,000 affordable housing. I would like to ask these honorable members and the chair of this committee, have you given us the timeline of this proposed affordable housing? What is the budget, Mr. Speaker? How many Kenyans are they going to be occupied in these 50,000 houses? Out of the 50 million Kenyans we have, I would like to take an example of a pay slip of a teacher or a police officer, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wish I came with a pay slip of a teacher. These people are serving so many loans, Mr. Speaker. We are adding for them a housing levy of 1.5. How are they going to pay, Mr. Speaker? Our police officers are dying out of depression because of the loans they are paying. We cannot add for them, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, I would like to say collecting and taxing the citizens is not a bad thing. But it's not the right time for the people to be taxed. It has come the wrong time, Mr. Speaker. It's about our people, the people we represent, Mr. Speaker. Today, I would like to take this opportunity to talk to His Excellency the President. The people who are seated on the other side, Mr. President, are not passing this bill because they want it. They are doing this for you, Mr. President. Mr. Speaker, I want you to protect me, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, history will judge us for passing this bill, Mr. Speaker. Let me go to manufacture. There is no point of order here, Mr. Speaker.
Point of order, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we are debating the report on the Finance Committee.
No, we are
bill.
debating the finance bill. Give him the mic.
Honorable Speaker, it is not in order for the Honorable Fatma to impute improper motives on her colleagues as far as this House is concerned in terms of the debate. He's saying we want to please the President. Honorable Speaker, this bill is not owned by the President. It is owned by this House, Honorable Speaker. And she has an opportunity to support or oppose. And the majority will have their say, minority will have their way, minority will have their say. So it is wrong for her to impute improper motives on our colleagues and say we want to please the President. I mean, really, it's wrong. It's an insult to the colleagues. It's an insult. And she doesn't even come to the house.
Order. Fatuma, each member is here in their own right. So restrict yourself to the bill.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I will continue by what I was saying, Mr. Speaker. I am here as the county MP for Wajir. I'll speak out my mind and I'll say what I think is right, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm here courtesy of the people of Wajir and I represent Kenyans equally, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would like to touch on the manufacturing. There is no doubt that the manufacturers are leaving Kenya, Mr. Speaker. Today's paper, we have seen the billionaires are leaving Kenyans. It has come to our attention. Most of us, we need to do something, Mr. Speaker. If you look at M-Pesa, right now the government is spying on our M-Pesa transaction, Mr. Speaker. We cannot even deposit 100,000 on our M-Pesa account because it's taxed, Mr. Speaker. Honorable members, we just need to put our foot down and just think, for heaven's sake, Mr. Speaker. It's not about which party you belong to.
What's your point of order? Give the mic to Honorable Kagombe. Yes, there you are.
Mr. Speaker, again, I rise on standing order number 91.1. And when you say, that is a very grievous accusation of the government, that the government is spying on Kenyans on M-Pesa. That is something that needs to be substantiated because this House has a responsibility to debate such a breach of privacy of Kenyans, and therefore the honorable member cannot just stand here and talk about it and move on. So we need to substantiate what you're saying. Number two, we are discussing the finance bill, Mr. Speaker. And this finance bill, Mr. Speaker, has got nothing to do with the issues that she's raising. That is an issue that she can come and she knows the way to raise such an address and such an issue to this House. A proper way of raising it through a motion or through a bill, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Fatuma, wind up. Your time is up.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. When I talk on M-Pesa, I'm talking on technology, Mr. Speaker. I'll leave it at that, Mr. Speaker. I'll go to food security, Mr. Speaker. We are doing VAT fuel on 16%. Mr. Speaker, I just want someone to explain to Kenyans, when you impose 16% on fuel, how do you expect to secure food on this country? Everything depends on food, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as I sit down, Mr. Speaker, sorry, I've been interrupted and I've forgotten a few things. Mr. Speaker, we need to earn the trust of Kenyans, Mr. Speaker. We remember what happened, the Gulwana Kulalu project, the millions and the trillions shillings that were spent on that. Mr. Speaker, as I said, we need to get the confidence of the Kenyans.